Hey guys, tonight we're going back to the 1800s, to a place where winter bites harder than a tax audit, and the only thing warmer than the hearth is your mother's disappointment when you forget to feed the goat. You're not you, exactly. You're someone else. A young someone. A someone standing in the middle of a golden wheat field, somewhere in the western smudge of the Russian Empire, which today would land somewhere between modern-day Moldova and definitely not vacation-worthy Ukraine. You're 10, maybe, to 11, old enough to know when the clouds are lying, and young enough to still talk to the moon out loud. And tonight, the moon is listening. Your father grows wheat. Your mother grows worry lines. Together, they raise you and your siblings on boiled grains, strong hugs, and soft Yiddish lullabies. You sleep on straw. You dream of warmth. Your village has 1 cow, 2 rabbis, and 3 recipes for beet soup. There's not much, but it's enough until it isn't. Your father gets sick. Not in the dramatic, coughing blood into handkerchief. Way more like the quiet, shrinking kind. He fades like an old photograph. One day, he's just gone. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your house feels quieter now. Your mother stops humming. You don't know what grief is. Not exactly, but you feel it in your bones like a second winter that never quite thaws at 13. You start thinking. Not deep philosophical thoughts. Just, this can't be it. You remember stories of a distant uncle far away, across a vast body of water called the ocean, man with a small grocery store in America. You say the word America like it's a spell, like it will transport you somewhere with shoes that don't leak and streets paved in. Not quite gold, but maybe something banana-colored dot. At 14, you leave. No dramatic farewell, just a scarf wrapped tightly by your mother's trembling hands, and a whisper, come back when you're somebody. You don't even have a suitcase, just a bag, and inside, 2 changes of clothing, a hunk of rye bread, and your father's old coin, the one with the faded Hebrew inscription. You board the ship, 3rd class. You're crammed into a damp belly of wood and iron, with dozens of others who look just as confused and smell just as nervous. The sea rocks, the ship groans. Someone plays a fiddle badly. You throw up somewhere around day 3 and don't stop until you see land again, New Orleans. The port is loud, sweaty, overwhelming. People shout in languages you've never heard. Men push carts piled high with pineapples and plantains and other fruits that look like someone lost a bet with a tropical tree. You find your uncle. He's smaller than you imagined, balding, anxious, not particularly thrilled to see you. He gives you a corner in the back room, a cot, a broom, a job. You stack cans. You sweep. You get yelled at for sweeping too loudly. Your accent makes things worse. You say, apple like apple. And no one understands that you're trying to ask where the bathroom is. But you're quick. You listen. You memorize the shelves and the smells and the soft ticking sound the cash register makes when it opens. And then, one day, as you're stacking a crate of bruised pears, you hear a customer complaining. These bananas are too ripe, she says. Bananas. You peek around the corner. There they are, long, yellow, with spots like tiny freckles. You've never seen one in your life. You ask the grocer where they're from. Honduras, he mutters. Maybe Costa Rica. Who knows? He waves it off like it doesn't matter, but it does. It matters to you because you see something they don't. Not a fruit. A window, a banana window, open for just a few days before the fruit turns brown, mushy, and sad. But within those few days, you smell opportunity. That night, you can't sleep. You lie in your cot, arms behind your head, staring at the ceiling. And in your mind, you replay it over and over. How people wrinkle their noses at bananas that are too soft. How grocers throw them out like yesterday's bread. How they pile up in docks, unwanted, waiting to rot. And you think, what if I could sell them before they go bad? It's a dumb idea, but it's your dumb idea. You start saving every penny. You eat less, sleep less, work more. You stop caring about how people say apple. You begin dreaming in yellow dot eventually. You gather $150 adjusted for inflation. That's enough to buy roughly a small used couch today or back then. A mountain of ripe bananas, and a plan is forming. Not just a dream now, a plan, a train, a town called Mobile. You look at a map. It's 230 kilometers away, close enough to touch, but far enough to get lost. And maybe, just maybe, far enough for you to become someone. The boy who left Russia is still there, somewhere, tucked in the folds of your coat. But you're something else now, a little older, a little bolder, a little banana-obsessed, and the journey. It's just beginning. You pack light, a satchel with the essentials, bread, coins, a small notebook where you've scribbled numbers that don't yet make sense to anyone but you. The train to Mobile is loud, dusty, and slower than you'd like. The kind of slow that makes you question every life choice and possibly every past existence. You sit on a wooden bench that smells like everyone else's sweat. There's a rooster in the aisle. It's staring at you like it knows you have no idea what you're doing still. You've got $150, which is either a small fortune or your entire life savings, depending on how much you like eating. Mobile, Alabama. It hits your senses before it hits your boots. The air is thick, humid, like someone wrapped the sun in a wet towel and threw it at your face. The port is buzzing, but not in a romantic, old movie way. More like a chaotic carnival hosted by people who skipped rehearsal. Men shout in Spanish, English, and something you're pretty sure is just grunting. There are crates everywhere, barrels, ropes, bananas everywhere, and there it is. A ship, huge. The name painted along the hull reads United Fruit Company. It's the Amazon Prime of its day, except instead of books and gadgets, it delivers bananas and, if you're lucky, one or two undocumented scorpions hiding in the foliage. You watch the unloading like it's a stage play, a muscular, sunburned ballet. Men form human chains, passing bunches of bananas, shoulder to shoulder, down to wooden carts. No forklifts, no safety harnesses, just sweat and hope. That's when you notice it. The green ones firm, flawless, ready for transport. They're the Alisters of the fruit world. The yellow ones already ripening. The beamy still good, but with a ticking clock. And then, the forgotten, the overripe, brown-flecked, soft, delicious now, but dead weight by Tuesday. These are your people. You see it instantly where everyone else sees loss. You see possibility, a tiny banana rebellion waiting to be led. You wait until most of the crowd disperses. Then you approach a man with a clipboard who looks like he's regretted his career choices since breakfast. He raises an eyebrow when you speak. Your accent is thick. Your voice cracks. You say something like, "I vant to buy soft bananas." He squints. You repeat, slower, point at the pile. He laughs, not kindly, but also not cruelly. You show him the cash. He shrugs. Deal. You've just purchased what everyone else sees as garbage. You, the teenager with the weird coat and even weirder ideas, are now the proud owner of too many bananas. But you're not done, because you didn't spend all your money. No, you held some back. You're no fool. You rent a freight train car, a big one, just enough space to fill with bananas and maybe a cot, because, guess what? You can't afford a ticket in the passenger car. Your plan is simple. Fill the car, travel city by city, sell directly from the train at each stop, move fast, outrun the rot. You're confident, nervous, a little nauseous, maybe from the bananas you've already sampled. They are, in fairness, excellent. The train departs, and at first it feels like momentum. You hear the rhythm of the rails and think, this is it, the wheels of destiny. Except the wheels of destiny are incredibly slow. The train stops, often, sometimes, for hours. Sometimes because the crew wants lunch. Sometimes because the universe thinks you need a lesson in humility. And you're in the back. No windows, just bananas and their smell. Oh, the smell. It's nice at first, like a tropical bakery. Then it becomes cloying, overwhelming. The inside of a humidifier stuffed with fruit and regret. You panic a little. The bananas are changing, spots growing, softness spreading. Time is your enemy now, so you act. You jump off at the next stop. You run literally to the Western Union Telegraph office. You look like a sweaty lunatic, and you definitely smell like a ripe smoothie. You talk fast, too fast. But you make a deal. The operator will send telegrams ahead to every merchant, vendor, and produce seller along your train route. Bananas, cheap, limited supply, arriving soon. Get them while they're edible. You offer a commission. He agrees, possibly to get you out of his office faster. Back on the train, you wait. You chew your nails. You try to nap, but there's nowhere to lie down that isn't a banana. Then success at the next station. They're waiting. Buyers, merchants, people holding baskets and coin purses, and hope you sell quickly, efficiently, from the side of the train like it's the world's smelliest pop-up shop. Next stop. More of the same, and the next, and the next. By the time the train reaches the final station, you're exhausted, banana scented for life, but sold out. You made $190. Doesn't sound like much. Adjust for inflation. That's about $35,000 in today's money. Not bad for a kid who started with a dream and a soft fruit. Historians still debate whether your first success was brilliance or pure luck, but you know, you saw value where others saw waste. You moved fast. You believed, and that's how banana empires begin. The next morning, you wake up with a crick in your neck and the faint scent of victory and, maybe also banana peels, still stuck to your boots. You're back in New Orleans. No one throws you a parade. There are no ticker tapes, no brass bands, no handshake from the mayor. But you've got something better. A notebook full of numbers, a wallet with $190, and the first glimmer of something that might resemble confidence. You did it once. Now you're going to do it again, but better. Because now you've learned, not just about bananas, about people, about ports, about just how far a telegram can travel if you ask nicely and offer 10 cents on every dollar earned. So you go back to Mobile, to the docks, to that pile of forgotten bananas, and the man with the clipboard remembers you. He doesn't laugh this time. He asks if you want more. You nod, with a seriousness that doesn't quite match your age or your patched-up shoes. You buy more and more. Stand. You already have your train car waiting. Already have your telegrams sent. Already know which towns like bananas and which ones wrinkle their noses like they've never heard of potassium. You repeat the route, but faster, sharper, and at every stop your reputation grows like a vine. Not exactly the vine that bananas grow on. That's a herbaceous plant, actually. Fun fact. But still, people start calling you the banana kid. You're not sure if it's meant to be flattering, but you'll take it. Your ledger starts to look less like scribbles and more like a map. And you begin to wonder, what if this wasn't just a hustle? What if this was a business? The rhythm becomes familiar. Banana pile, train car, telegram, sell, sleep, barely, repeat. You eat more bananas than anyone should. Your fingers are permanently sticky. At one point, you dream in yellow. It's a recurring dream where you're chased by a talking fruit and wake up shouting to 4 a nickel. It's around this time you begin to track the numbers properly. You start keeping records. Which days yield better sales? Which cities buy more volume? Which temperatures seem to ruin your stock faster? You're 16, and you know more about banana spoilage rates than most grown men know about their own shoes. That's when it hits you. The rot is the key. Not just something to avoid, something to understand. Historians often overlook this part. They like the drama of your later years, takeovers, coups, plantations, but what they miss is how meticulous you were even then. You weren't guessing. You were testing, tweaking, turning the most perishable thing in the port into a commodity that obeyed your schedule, not nature's. Still, things aren't perfect. Sometimes a shipment spoils. Sometimes a town doesn't bite. Once your train car breaks down and you have to bribe 2 men and a mule to help you push it to the next stop. You never forget that mule's name, Solomon. He kicks you in the shin and then saves your entire week's profit. A complex figure. You start wearing a hat, not because it's stylish, because people take you more seriously with one, and also because the sun in Mobile is what historians call aggressively unforgiving. By 1899, you've sold over 20,000 bananas. Yes, to 0, 0, 0. All by hand. All out of a rolling train car and some barely passable Spanish. And the money. It's growing. Not Rockefeller money. Not even buy a second pair of boots. Money. But enough that you can say no to certain things. Like extra shifts. Or cold soup. Still, you keep things simple. You live modestly. You rent a tiny room with creaky floors. Your bed is too short, but your dreams are long. At night, you read books. Not for fun, for strategy. Distribution models. Business ledgers. You try to learn about refrigeration, but the science is still a bit out of reach and ice is expensive. So you adapt instead. You learn to spot the banana that will ripen in 3 days versus the one that's got 20 hours before it turns to compost. It's not magic. It's moisture, color, smell, and you learn to train others. You hire a few boys, teach them your system. Now your train car has helpers, banana apprentices. You never call them that out loud, but you think it just once, and chuckle. One of them asks, "Why do you do this? All this for bananas?" You look at him, and you think, "Because I couldn't do it for wheat." And that's the truth. This isn't just fruit. This is freedom. Still, people don't quite know what to make of you. You're young, too young. You sell too fast. You make too much noise. You have too much enthusiasm for fruit that smells like it's about to give up. They call you a hustler, a lucky brat, a smuggler of soggy produce. But you don't care. You're building something most of them can't see yet. Because while they worry about the color of the peel, you're already looking at the map. And you know where the next shipment lands. You start to recognize the signs, that salty, humid scent of docks just after dawn, the clatter of cartwheels over cobblestone, the low grumble of seagulls who apparently never sleep. You know the timing now. You know when a ship is likely to arrive. And more importantly, you know what to look for. That small, sad pile of bananas no one touches. You're no longer just showing up. You're early positioned like a hawk with a ledger. The dock workers nod when they see you. Some even wave. And the guy with the clipboard, you know his name now, Frank. He knows yours too. Frank used to smirk. Now he just asks, "How much you want today, Sam?" Because by now, you've become a fixture. The kid with the wild eyes and the precise questions. The one who buys the cast-offs before they hit the trash. And Frank, he's happy to get rid of. No one else wants to handle bananas that are already freckled. Too risky, too soft, too close to that line between ripe and yikes. But you know how to work with the clock. You've mapped it, not just in miles, but in hours, from port to train to sail. Each stop a tick on the banana-time bomb. And then one day something shifts. You're at the dock, as usual, hands in your pockets, hat low, watching another shipment arrive. And there it is again, the pile of overripe bananas. Only this time, it's bigger, much bigger, too big. You ask Frank what's going on. He shrugs. United Fruit had spoilage issues, half the loads turning early. You nod, casually. Inside, you're sprinting with excitement, because now you know this is your moment. You strike a deal, a bigger one, a chunk of that massive, overripe shipment, for even cheaper, because they're desperate. Because to them, it's waste. To you, it's opportunity. In bulk, you rent to train cars this time. You sketch out a new route on the back of a receipt. Add cities, adjust your stops. You even send the telegrams a day earlier. Your banana army is growing, and it works. Again, even better than before. Your profit margin. Let's just say you're starting to think in 3-digit numbers, which, for someone who used to dream of owning shoes without holes, feels extravagant. So, what do? You go bigger. You start keeping track of market days in nearby towns. When people are out, when grocers restock, when train stops align with foot traffic, you align your banana blitzkrieg with their schedules. Historians still debate if this was business genius or divine coincidence. Some say you were just lucky. Others, they point to your notebook surviving scraps, filled with chicken scratch timelines and price tracking. You're not just playing the game, you're shaping the board. And then comes the call. Not literal. It's more like a quiet nudge from your own brain. You realize you can't keep doing this alone, so you make a decision that in hindsight might be the smartest of your early career. You hire help, not a lot, just a few boys, like we mentioned before, quick hands, sharp eyes, kids who remind you of yourself, skinny, stubborn, hungry for more than lunch. You train them how to pick the right bananas, how to pack for minimal bruising, how to spot a town that's banana ready before the wheels even stop turning. You delegate, and for the first time, you get to sit back just a little, not relax. You're still hustling, but you're not hauling every single crate yourself anymore. Progress. And then, one morning, as you're checking your latest tally, something strange happens. A man approaches, slick suit, thin mustache, smells faintly of citrus and competition. He says he's from the United Fruit Company. You blink. He doesn't accuse you of anything, doesn't ask you to leave, doesn't even mention all the bananas you've been buying. Instead, he says, "We like what you're doing." You almost drop your pencil. He continues, "We'd like to formalize an arrangement." You don't have a lawyer, or a business card, or a clue what the word formalize means in this context. But what he's offering is simple. All of United Fruit's overripe or near-ripe bananas, the ones they use to throw out or sell to whoever showed up first, they'll go to you exclusively. You try to keep your face neutral, but inside, a small victory parade erupts, complete with kazoo. You agree on the spot, with a handshake and a slightly sweaty palm. Because now, you're not just a buyer, you're the buyer. And with that deal, everything changes. The supply is steady, the price is low, the risks still there, of course, but now it's backed by predictability. And you start to expand. Faster trains, new routes. You even experiment with wax paper to slow the ripening, which works slightly better than you expected. At 17, you're still wearing hand-me-downs, still walking like your knees hurt from lifting crates. But you own a slice of a market no one even noticed before you. You're not rich, not yet, but you're solid, respected, feared, maybe a little, by grocers, with too much pride and not enough stock. And all of this, because you looked at a pile of trash fruit and saw treasure. Because you ran toward the rot, not away from it, because you believed. You start waking up before the sun, not because of discipline, but because the fruit tells you to. Bananas don't wait. They ripen, then rebel. So you move faster, sleep less, eat standing up. Your life is measured in hours, not days. You rent more train cars, hire more helpers, send more telegrams. Your name spreads. At each station, there's a little buzz. Sam's train is coming. Bananas, fresh, well, almost fresh. Kids call you Banana Boy. Merchants call you the kid with hustle. And everyone's buying. You're a rolling banana festival. No tents, no clowns, just crates, sweat, and the ticking clock of perishability. The Western Union operators love you. You're their best customer. You know how to make a message travel faster than a rumor in a small town. And then one day, you try something new. Instead of stopping at every single station, you designate hotspots, places where you know the market is ready, where people wait. with coins in hand before you even open the train doors. Efficiency, speed, timing. You're no longer improvising. You're orchestrating. That's when someone tries to copy you. You see it first in Baton Rouge. A man twice your age selling soft bananas off the back of a wagon. You approach politely. He sweats more than he smiles. You buy 2 bunches just to be nice, but you're watching. And what you see tells you everything. No prep, no telegrams, no sorting system. He's just guessing, and he sells barely half. You, on the other hand, sell out in 20 minutes because you know the ripening curve like you know your own heartbeat. And while he's winging it, you're executing a plan. It's a small victory, but sweet, like a banana just on the edge of too ripe. That night, you update your notebook. You add a new page. Banana competition watch list. A list of copycats. None too dangerous yet, but still, better safe than overripe. Meanwhile, your profits grow. You've crossed into new territory. Not just survival, not even success. Now, you're into momentum. You start noticing the details. Which crates protect better during transport. How newspaper can buffer bruising. The best way to stack bunches so they breathe, not sweat. And then, because why not to, start to sort bananas into tiers. Yes, banana tiers, the kind that look just right, top shelf. They go to towns where people pay more. The ones with more spots, closer towns, move them fast. You're curating banana routes now. A custom delivery experience for every village. It's weird, it's obsessive, and it works. Historians still debate if this was the first instance of micro-segmented food logistics in the American South. You just call it being smart, and then it happens. You sell your 50,000th banana. There's no party, no banner. But you smile anyway, because it's a number, a real number, and more importantly, it's yours. You've created this. From the mess, from the mush, from the bananas no one wanted. You write in your notebook, 5 still climbing. Meanwhile, the United Fruit Company watches. Quietly, they see your orders grow, see you buy more than ever, see your roots stretch farther than some of their smaller distributors. And instead of shutting you out, they lean in. They like what you're doing. You're saving them money, after all. They no longer have to trash the soft stock. You move it faster than their own local teams. And that's when you get another visit, a different suit. This one smells like aftershave and contracts. He sits across from you at a diner, takes a sip of bitter coffee, then lays it out. We want to make this official. You blink. We want you to take all our overripe stock, regularly, guaranteed, no haggling. You don't answer right away. You stir your coffee, which you don't even like. It tastes like cardboard, dipped in regret. But your mind is racing. Guaranteed supply, regular routes, predictable volume. It's everything you need. You say yes, but only after negotiating better terms. Because you may be young, but you're not naive. The suit nods, says, smart kid. You grin, say, not a kid anymore. From that moment, the game changes. You go from scavenger to distributor, from afterthought to strategic partner, from banana boy to banana broker. And with that official deal, you begin to scale. You're 17, and you now handle more fruit per week than most grocers see in a season. The name Sam Zemurray is still a whisper, still misspelled on invoices, still confused with someone else in town who sells radishes. but not for long, because now you have a deal with the biggest player in the field, a proven route system, a trained team, and a reputation for making the impossible look like logistics your notebook. It's full of names, cities, ripening times, cost ratios. You keep it under your pillow, because if anyone stole it, they'd steal your empire. The bananas still ripen, the trains still chug, the sun still bakes your skin a few shades darker than before. But now you walk a little taller, because you've built something out of nothing, out of softness, out of waste, out of fruit no one wanted. And what you're starting to understand is this: the trick was never avoiding the rot, the trick was outrunning it. By now, the banana game is second nature. You walk into Mobile and don't even need to ask. Sure, shipment is already waiting. Frank nods. The dock workers load the crates automatically. No questions, no hesitation, just action. Because you're the banana guy now. Not just some clever teen with a knack for timing, but the go-to man for bananas that need to disappear faster than ice in July. Your train car is freshly scrubbed. The boys you've hired are getting faster, more precise. They talk in banana code. They know the difference between golden freckle and brown alert. It's not just distribution anymore. It's choreography. And as your operation grows, so does your nickname. Gone is Banana Boy. Now you're Banana Sam. It sticks. Even shows up in telegrams. You don't hate it. In fact, it makes you laugh every time someone says it, like it's official, like it belongs on a business card. Banana Sam, at your service. Fruit enthusiast, train conductor, part-time miracle worker. And in a way, it is a miracle. You've created something out of the unwanted. You've turned biological urgency into economic efficiency. Most people would have walked past that pile of overripe fruit. You built an industry from it. Let's take a moment here, in the middle of your journey, and breathe it in. The rhythm of the train, the sticky wood of the crates, the subtle change in air when bananas turn from edible to edible-ish. You know all of it, and you respect all of it, because each bunch that passes through your hands, that's another chance, another coin in the pocket, another page in the story. But not everyone sees it that way. You begin to hear murmurs. A grocer in Baton Rouge complains you're undercutting him. A rival vendor tries to imitate your roots, but ends up with mushy disaster. You ignore it, mostly, but you do adjust. Quietly, you add subtle shifts to your schedule. New towns, new faces, a few test runs in places no one's thought to try. Like dry counties with dry humor and very little fruit access. And guess what? They love bananas. Who knew that a town famous for pickled eggs and boredom would react to your train like it was the second coming of tropical joy? You sell out in minutes. And in that moment, watching an old woman bite into her very first banana like it's a revelation, you realize something. You're not just selling food, you're selling novelty, exoticism, a chance to taste something from far, far away. This isn't just supply and demand. This is storytelling. In fruit form, historians still discuss whether this era marked the rise of emotional branding in the produce industry. You just call it good sense. You adjust your signage. You begin to paint your Nembanana Saman, the side of the train car, in big, joyful letters. It's a move that feels absurdly bold, like putting your name on the moon. But it works. People cheer when you pull into the station. Kids wave. Old-timers nod, like you're part of some sacred trade route. you even get your first article in a local paper. Teen banana tycoon turns rot into riches. They get most of the details wrong, of course. They say you're from Poland. They claim you invented banana bread. You don't correct them. Why ruin the fun? And speaking of fun, you start to experiment with how bananas are stored. You try crushed straw, newsprint insulation, a light spritz of saltwater spoiler. Don't do that one again. You note every reaction, every shift in shelf life. Your ledger is a living organism now. Part journal, part science project, part memoir of mild tropical obsession. And while others mock you, the boy who smells like breakfast, you keep stacking cash. By now, you're moving thousands of bananas a week, and doing it with the kind of calm that makes others suspicious, which leads to your next unexpected development. A well-dressed man boards your train mid-route. He's not a vendor, not a buyer, not a fellow fruit fanatic. He's from a regional bank. You're moving a lot of product, he says. And then, ever think about a line of credit? You blink. A line of what? Turns out, when you reach a certain level of cash flow, the institutions start to notice. And when the institutions notice, they offer help. You're cautious, very cautious, but you do take a small loan. Enough to buy a second train car permanently. Enough to test the waters of scaling. It's scary. You're suddenly responsible for more routes, more workers, more spoilage risk, but also more bananas. And with that, more reach. Your operation stretches across 5 states now. You keep your maps pinned to the inside of your bunk. Colored pins for markets, string for routes, little X's for towns. Maxed out. You joke with your team that you're conquering the South, one banana at a time. But it's not really a joke, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're 18 now, barely legal to vote, but already commanding a fleet of train cars, a team of workers, and a banana empire that moves faster than gossip in a barber shop. You don't sleep much, mostly by choice. Sleep is for people who don't have fruit fighting entropy in real time. You've become a regular at the mobile docks. Some of the dock hands have started calling you Mr. Z, which is funny, because your shoes still squeak when wet, and you once sold bananas with jam on your collar. But they respect you. Not because of your age, because of your results. You move faster than anyone else. You get in, get the stock, get it rolling, and now you've started sending scouts. That's right, scouts, like you're running a miniature banana intelligence agency. You send them to test towns, to map temperatures, to track demand, because your enemy isn't other fruit sellers anymore. It's time itself. You're not just moving bananas. You're moving windows of opportunity, slippery little time boxes that turn to mush if you miss your mark. So you anticipate, forecast, plan with a level of detail that makes your rivals look like they're gambling with rotten dice. You've got a system, a banana machine, and you're the only one with the manual. At some point, you even start experimenting with post-sale strategy, leaving samples with select vendors, offering banana bundles with a free flyer about the health benefits of potassium. You don't say it out loud, but you're basically doing 1890s content marketing, just with more bruises and less TikTok one day. You're sitting in your train car, ledger open, counting revenue from a particularly good week. You've just cracked 100,000 bananas, sold in under a year. Let that sink in. 100,000. If someone told you that back when you were scrubbing floors in your uncle's store, you would have laughed and slipped on your own dreams. But here you are, still dreaming, but with profit margins. And then comes the mail. A letter, no return address, the seals, familiar, elegant, with a golden banana motif. It's from United Fruit. Yes, again, they've been watching. Not just your speed, but your style. The letter is brief, polite, and just threatening enough to raise your eyebrows. They're not angry, they're intrigued. They invite you to a meeting in New Orleans, at an office with real furniture and everything. You go, of course, in your best shirt, which still smells faintly of banana because, well, everything you own does. The office is quiet, too quiet, like the kind of quiet where people whisper even when they're alone. They sit you down, 3 men in suits. One of them has a mustache, so intimidating it should have its own chair. They explain, they've got volume, ships, plantations, capital. You've got hustle, access to markets, a loyal customer base. They want a deal, a real one, not just overripe cast-offs, but partnership. They propose something wild. You take the bananas that are close to ripe, too risky for their bulk shipping strategy, and you do what you do best, sell them faster than anyone else possibly could. In exchange, they offer consistency, preferred access, a small but meaningful slice of the banana pie. It's tempting, so tempting, but you're not stupid. You've heard stories about how United Fruit plays the long game, about how they like to own everything, even their rivals, so you counter. You want exclusivity, territorial rights, a say in where your shipments go. You ask for enough freedom to keep your routes nimble and your margins fat. They don't laugh, they nod. Deal. Historians still debate whether this was the first example of United Fruit. From that moment, you level up again. You're no longer just reacting. You're building ahead. With their support hand, you're planning. You're able to expand north, Memphis, Nashville, even whispers of Chicago. And with every new city, every new stop, you're greeted not with skepticism, but anticipation. You become a legend, the man who moves bananas at the speed of light, the one who sees value in decay, the one who, if rumors are to be believed, once bought 10,000 pounds of overripe fruit and turned it into cash by lunchtime. People start mimicking you again. They try your route, your timing, your pitch, but they don't have you. They don't have your instincts, or your notebooks, or your team. Most of them fold by the 3rd station because you're not just in the banana business anymore. You're in the distribution, precision business, the logistics, poetry business, the how dash did dash he dash do dash that dash with dash soft dash fruit business. You've reached a point where failure doesn't scare you anymore. Rot happens, trains break down, markets fluctuate, but you adapt, you flow, you peel and pivot, and through it all, you never forget where you came from. Sometimes, late at night, as the train rocks gently on its tracks, you pull out your father's old coin, rub the faded inscription with your thumb, and smile, because the boy who left the wheat fields of Russia with a few coins and a lot of dreams, he's doing just fine. The air smells different in the mornings now, still sticky, still warm, but with a whiff of ambition. You wake up before dawn on most days, not out of necessity, but because your mind won't stop turning. You're no longer just moving bananas. You're moving decisions, calculations, people. The United Fruit deal was a turning point. They hand off bananas that are too soft for their distribution timeline, but not for yours. You're the middleman between what almost rots and what still sells, and you're good at it. Your buyers grow loyal. Your stops get more consistent. And your crews, well, they start treating you like a boss. But the kind who doesn't mind lifting a crate now and then, or throwing in a joke when someone trips over a bunch of bananas. You start investing more in infrastructure. A second rail car becomes 4, then 6. You even experiment with splitting routes. One northbound, one southbound, one experimental route through Mississippi, which ends in disaster when the train derails thanks to a particularly angry goat. But you don't talk about that one much. You do talk about Baton Rouge, because in Baton Rouge something changes. You stop by a vendor to check inventory and find him waiting, arms crossed. You know, he says, people around here talk about your bananas like they're gold. You raise an eyebrow, not because of the compliment, but because that word, gold, bananas as gold, it sticks in your brain, rattles around for hours. Bananas are soft, perishable, fragile. Gold is not. But the way this vendor talks about your product, with reverence, with expectation, feels like gold. And that's when you realize it's not about the fruit. It's about trust. People trust your bananas to be good, to be just ripe enough, to be worth their coin. And trust, you learn, is the real currency. So you double down. You print small flyers. Banana Sam delivers. No address, just train times and cities. You hand them out at stations, diners, barbershops. People laugh. Then they keep the flyer. You start tracking how long bananas last at different altitudes. You make a chart of towns by humidity. You ask farmers questions they've never been asked before. What time does the morning dew dry up around here? You're creating something new, not just a banana business, a banana model. Historians still argue if you were a true innovator or just a really intense micromanager. Some say both. You agree with both. It's around this time that the United Fruit guys start treating you differently. Less like a lucky kid, more like a partner. You attend one of their meetings, not in some fruit-scented warehouse, in a proper building. Chairs that don't wobble, people in clean shirts. They show charts, numbers. You're in some of the slides. They're watching how fast you move, how little waste you report, how cities you touch suddenly start selling more bananas after your train leaves. They call this demand creation. You call it doing your job. One exec leans in during lunch and says, "You've made us more than you'll ever know." You swallow your sandwich awkwardly and reply, "You could just pay me more." He laughs, but doesn't disagree. It's the beginning of something deeper. They start inviting you to strategy sessions. They ask what roots you think will grow. They ask which towns are banana curious. You start realizing you have leverage, not just in crates and coins, in data, in knowledge. You don't flaunt it, but you use it, asking for 2 extra days on a shipment deadline because you know you'll sell more on Saturday than Thursday. And they say yes, because now they trust you. Your name grows outside your roots. Vendors in cities you haven't even visited ask, "Hey, you the banana guy?" You get letters, not fan mail, requests. "Come to Texarkana. We got mouths and no bananas." It's flattering and logistically complicated, but you love it. because it means you've reached something new. You're no longer chasing demand. Demand is chasing you. You expand again, not recklessly, strategically. You open a small warehouse outside New Orleans, your first real property. It smells like potential and overripe fruit. You hire more people, train them personally, still test every system yourself. One day, you get a visit. A man in a white linen suit, too clean for a dock, too curious for a banker. He introduces himself as Ashbel Hubbard, investor, traveler, banana fan. He says he's been watching from afar, and he wants in, not on your roots, on your future. You blink, ask, what future? He smiles. The one you haven't built yet. He says he wants to help you go bigger. Ships, ports, direct imports from Central America. No more depending on United Fruit for leftovers. He wants to make you the source. It's wild, ambitious, insane. You love it, but you don't say yes. Not yet. You go home, back to your tiny rented room above a hardware store. You lie in bed, watching the ceiling, thinking about ships, about ports, about bananas, not as byproduct, but as origin. You know what this means. It's risk, it's debt, it's complexity, but it's also control. And you've never wanted anything more than that. You roll over, pull your notebook close, and start sketching. Bananas, not just on trains, but on boats, on fields, on maps, stretching farther than you've ever dared. You stand at the edge of the mobile dock one morning, watching a ship roll in heavy with fruit, and you don't see bananas anymore. You see potential, cargo, logistics, the pieces of a puzzle. You've only just begun arranging. You no longer want to wait for shipments. You want to own them. Ashbel Hubbard, your freshly minted investor, and, potentially, your future headache wants to go big. He has money. You have momentum. Together, you just might pull off the biggest pivot of your life. It starts with a modest conversation in a greasy diner booth. You draw on a napkin because, of course you do. Honduras, you say, circling a dot like it's treasure on a pirate map. Banana country. Ashbel leans. In you, keep going. We buy land. We grow ourselves. We cut out the middle. We become the source. He nods, slowly, as if realizing he's not talking to a banana vendor anymore. He's talking to a would-be plantation king. What you're proposing isn't just vertical integration, it's vertical ambition. So you make a plan. Together, you scout companies, smaller ones, barely functioning. And that's when you find her, the Kayamal Fruit Company. She's dusty, she's broken, but she owns over 100 acres in Honduras. Prime banana land. You buy her quietly, cheaply, a fixer-upper empire, but it's yours. And just like that, you're in agriculture now. Congratulations, you've gone from buying banana scraps to farming bananas at the root. Literally, Ashbel covers the boat purchase. You arrange the first crew. The Kayamel operation starts as a single rusty ship and two guys who don't speak the same language, but it's real. You book passage to Honduras. Now, let's pause. This is 1905-ish. Honduras is not a vacation destination. There are no guidebooks, no paved roads, no welcoming committee with lays. There's jungle, sweat, bugs with ambition, but you don't flinch. You ride a mule through dense green that smells like rot and rain and something ancient. You shake hands with local officials who smile wide but count your coins faster than your own accountant. You nod at military officers, promise to bring jobs, and slide envelopes across tables under lantern light. Historians still argue whether these were bribes or business as usual. You just call it survival. You secure concessions, tax breaks, land rights, labor agreements. You start hiring locals, desperate for work, hardworking, weathered, braver than most men you've met in boardrooms. You don't watch from afar. You pick up a machete and swing it next to them, cutting back brush, clearing trails, learning which snakes to avoid and which are just bluffing. You sweat alongside them. At night, you sleep in a hammock between half-finished walls, dreaming of shipping schedules and rainfall. The fields come together slowly. Banana trees aren't trees at all. Technically, they're giant herbs, but they look like trees. They grow tall and fast, and when the first stalks bend under the weight of fruit, you grin so hard it hurts. You're doing it. You're making bananas, not just selling them. You're no longer a middleman. You're a producer. The supply chain begins to take shape. You oversee the roads, if you can call them that. Mostly, you're just flattening mud until it cooperates. You buy oxen, build bridges, turn trails into lanes. You construct a small town, not because you're charitable, because you need workers who can stay. So you build them homes, simple, dry, sturdy, a few shops, a cantina, a school with a chalkboard that barely fits the wall. It starts to feel like something permanent, and they start to call you El Patron. You don't ask for it, but it sticks. They like that you speak Spanish, that you drink what they drink, that you don't hide in a mansion miles away. You listen, you show up, and that, in this place, means everything. Meanwhile, your ships start moving from La Ceiba, Porto Courts, full of fruit, headed back to New Orleans, Mobile, Tampa, no more waiting at docks. No more hoping United Fruit throws you a bone. You've made your own. At some point, United Fruit finds out. Of course they do. They don't say anything. At first, they watch. They calculate, because you've entered their space now. And while they may have smiled when you cleaned up their overripe mess, they may not feel as charitable about you farming your own fruit. You prepare for this. You keep your costs lean, your quality high, your delivery times ruthless. You don't try to match their size. You just try to move quicker, and it works. Your early shipments arrive on time, even ahead of schedule. Your fruit sells fast. Your customers smile. Back in Honduras, your banana fields double in size within a year. The village you've built buzzes with life, and you're still sleeping in a hammock, eating plantains for breakfast, wondering when it all became this real. Sometimes, walking through the rows of giant leaves, you pause. You look back at the jungle you carved through, at the people who now call this place home, at the stalks bowed under the weight of success, and you think maybe you were never meant to just sell bananas. Maybe you were meant to plant them. You learn quickly that growing bananas isn't as romantic as selling them. The sun doesn't care about your business plan. The rain ignores your schedule. The soil either cooperates or swallows your dreams whole. You start each morning walking the fields with your foreman. You inspect the leaves. You tap the trunks. You listen for bugs. Yes, bugs. The kind that chew profits while you sleep. Snakes slither through rows. Mosquitoes feast like tiny airborne demons. Even the frogs look at you like you sure about this, gringo. But you keep going. Because this is the only way, the hard way, the real way. You plant more, hire more, cut deeper into the jungle, always balancing ambition with exhaustion. And it's not just bananas now. You're managing people, a lot of them. You have to decide who gets paid what. When new roofs go up, what to do when someone's hurt. No doctor for miles. You're not just a businessman. You're a mayor, a makeshift governor of Banana Town. And they call you El Patron with affection now. Not just necessity. You drink with them, laugh with them, hold babies at baptisms. Build trust in ways boardrooms never teach. You also make some odd choices. For instance, you begin categorizing your own diet by banana maturity. 1 week, it's all underripe. The next, fully overripe. Then you try not eating bananas at all 4. Science, and then there's the headstand after every meal phase. Because someone told you it helped with digestion. Historians still debate whether you were brilliant, eccentric, or just incredibly bored between shipments. You were focused and a little unhinged because you had to be. The competition is catching on. New plantations, new ships, even United Fruit starts planting closer to Honduras, closer to you. So you double down. You study their operations. You notice how they cut corners, treat workers as tools. You decide to be different. You pay better, not great, but better. Enough to matter, enough to earn loyalty. You build more houses, start a medical shack, pay. For a school teacher, the village grows, not just in numbers, but in heart. And then you do something wild. You write a letter to United Fruit, not to challenge, to propose a deal. You want a long-term shipping arrangement. They have ships. You have fruit. It's transactional, but clever. It keeps them close, but not too close. They agree, surprisingly fast. And suddenly, your bananas are moving on United Fruit boats. Irony in motion. Historians call this move counterintuitive, but you saw it differently. You didn't want to destroy them. You wanted to use them. Keep your enemies fed on your terms. So while their executives pat themselves on the back, you keep planting. You buy new plots, swampy, bug-ridden land that no one else wants but you. You see drainage. You see soil. You see future stocks. You hire engineers, cut canals, build irrigation from scratch. The first real storm season hits hard, floods roads, wrecks half your shipment, and you lose money. Lots of it. You stare at the books for hours, the numbers bleeding red, and still. You keep planting because you know one storm doesn't end a harvest. It's during this time that you visit a town hall meeting in Tegucigalpa. You sit in the back, quiet, listening. Politicians shout. Landowners argue. Farmers sigh. And you think, I need influence here. So you start shaking hands, making friends, sliding notes, spending small. For now, it's not corruption, exactly. Not yet. It's positioning. Getting your foot in every door before the others even find the handle. Back in the fields, your plantations now stretch for miles. Your workers call it El Mundo Amarillo, the yellow world, because when the bananas bloom, the whole valley glows. Your ships run weekly, on time, every time. You're beating United Fruit at their own game, quietly, efficiently, with fewer suits and more machetes. Then comes the offer. They want in. They want to buy a share of your company, a minority stake, just a taste. You don't say no, not because you need them, but because it keeps them close. keeps them watching, keeps them predictable. They think they're buying into your growth, but really, they're buying your shield. You pour the money back into the land, back into roads, back into people. You even design a small office, 2 rooms, 1 desk, and a shelf for all your ledgers. Because now, the ledgers are thick, and not just with numbers, with knowledge. You flip through them some nights, tracing every route, every storm, every misstep. You still carry your father's coin, but now you also carry a fountain pen, because this next part, it's not about bananas anymore, it's about power, and you're just getting started. You used to measure success by crates sold, routes covered, telegrams sent. Now it's square kilometers. Now it's shipping tonnage. Now it's how many homes does my workforce need this quarter? Your plantation isn't a farm anymore. It's a small civilization. The main road is no longer a muddy track. You've had it packed, drained, even partially paved. Workers ride bikes down it now. There's laughter. There are kids chasing chickens between the rows of banana stalks. You built a school last week. 1 room. The teachers barely trained, but passionate. The kids, you can't walk by without 5 of them yelling, "Patron." You wave, of course, because now you are more than a boss. You are a fixture, a myth with muddy boots. And yet, you're still the same. Still rise before sunrise. Still test bananas before each shipment. Still scratch notes into that same notebook now, on its 5th volume. You've even started writing letters to yourself. Strange habit, but oddly calming. Things like, don't get greedy. Always overestimate rainfall. People matter more than trees. The kind of wisdom you wish someone had whispered to you years ago, historians argue. Whether this period marks your philanthropic phase, or just your need for scalable efficiency, you don't argue. You just keep building. You expand the village. More homes, a clinic, a barbershop that doubles as a town gossip hub. You've created what your workers call unrinken de orden, a corner of order, a place that works, where pay comes on time, where roofs don't leak, where bananas bloom and people actually want to stay. Word spreads, not just about your fruit, about your people. Laborers from other plantations sneak over to ask for jobs. United Fruit catches wind and starts asking questions. Why are your workers so loyal? Simple. You don't treat them like disposable machetes, and it pays off. Your yields are higher. Your spoilage is lower. Your retention rate, practically mythical. The Panama disease, a soil-borne fungus, begins whispering across plantations like a ghost. You read about it in a trade journal, then see it firsthand. A row of plants wilting for no visible reason. You act fast, burn infected rows, relocate planting beds, start rotating your fields in a method no one else in Honduras is even thinking about. You're not just a farmer. You're a fruit scientist with a machete and a mailing list. At one point, you start keeping records of banana curvature. Why? Because you can. You note how humidity affects shape, whether altitude creates sweeter flavor, whether bananas grown under moonlight taste different. They don't. But now you know, and knowledge is leverage. You're 19 now, barely. You've gone from train hustler to plantation patriarch, from stacking crates to running crews, from renting rooms to hosting dignitaries. Yes. Dignitaries. Local officials drop by now. They sit at your rough-hewn table and sip your bitter coffee. They make suggestions, hint at contracts, offer to streamline paperwork in exchange for donations. You don't flinch because you know what they want: access, position, your roots, your labor pool, your influence. You don't say yes to everything, but you say just enough. And soon, a quiet truth emerges. You're not just a planter. You're part of Honduras' economic fabric. They need you. And that's a powerful thing. So you begin to prepare. You start to think like a nation builder. You look beyond bananas, canals, railways, telegraph lines. You sketch these dreams in the margins of your ledger. Line from La Ceiba to Tegucigalpa, possible in 3 years. You chuckle, imagining the expression on your younger self's face if he saw that note. But here you are, thinking bigger, thinking governmental, and the village. It's now a town. People have pets. There's a bakery, a small church, 2 competing barbers. The kids start forming a soccer team. You find an old leather ball and toss it to them one day. They cheer like you just handed out gold. And you think, this is what empire feels like. Not palaces, not titles. A kid in muddy shorts, chasing joy between banana trees. That night, you walk the fields under starlight. The moon gleams off the leaves. The air hums with crickets and distant laughter. The scent of ripening fruit mingles with river mist. You stop, place your hand on a tree, and listen to the hum, to the hush. The first banana you ever saw, you whisper, thank you, to the tree, to the land, to the path, because it's not over, not even close. But you're no longer climbing, you're building. There's a saying whispered among fruit traders along the Gulf ports. If you see the white ships, it's already too late. They mean United Fruit, their great white fleet, a floating empire, sleek and fast and unrelenting, and 15 ships, all painted blinding white, as if colorless holes made them less threatening. You see them too. Often now, docked beside your boats, unloading faster, shinier, taller. They don't wave, they don't need to, because they already think they've won. But you know better. You don't fear the fleet, you study it, where it docks, how long it stays, what routes it favors, which captains smoke cigars, and which prefer chewing tobacco. You send your crew to observe. You pay dock workers for chatter. You listen like the bananas are telling secrets, because they are. And you learn something fascinating. The fleet is too perfect. It runs on systems so rigid. Any disruption causes chaos, storm, delay, sick captain, reschedule, rotten cargo, destroy and restart. You, on the other hand, you pivot, you flex. You're made of improvisation and mosquito bites. That's when you realize United Fruit isn't invincible. It's just big and big things. They're slow to turn. So you make a choice. You won't fight the fleet, you'll dance around it. You start sending smaller boats from different ports. You time your shipments to avoid overlap. You focus on places they don't see as profitable. That's your advantage. You see value in the edges, the gaps, the overlooked, and while they court governments and build embassies, you build relationships. One morning, a local governor from the north visits your plantation unannounced. He tours the fields, inspects the town. He asks about your operation, how it runs so efficiently, with so little oversight. You walk him through your systems, your incentive programs, your rotating shift model that cuts fatigue in half. He's impressed. You could teach our people something, he says. You reply, I already am. And you mean it. You're not just exporting bananas anymore. You're exporting order. Historians later describe you as a managerial evangelist, which is fancy talk for you made things work, and people noticed. But with growth comes attention. One night, over dinner, a colleague warns you. United Fruit is watching you closer now. They're not amused. You raise an eyebrow. Take a slow bite of roasted plantain, then smile. Good. Still, you tread carefully. You've been letting them own a minority stake in Kayamalur Company for a while now. A silent partnership, just enough to keep them calm, but you can feel it tightening, like a belt being drawn in notch by notch. So, you pull back, slowly, delicately, like removing a tick with a silver spoon. You start buying their shares back through shell investors. Quietly, strategically. They don't notice at first. Too busy conquering Colombia or whispering in Guatemalan ears. You also begin investing in things they find beneath them, like refrigeration. They laugh when they hear you've bought an ice pit machine for a cargo shed in La Ceiba. You're chilling. Bananas. They scoff. Yes, yes, you are. And it works. It buys you hours, sometimes days. Your spoilage drops. Your profit margin climbs. You send an invoice with a smiley face once. No, one replies. But you know they saw it. Back in the US, you hire your first full-time accountant, a man named Gerald, with glasses and a nervous laugh. He builds a ledger so thick it needs its own shelf. You call it the Banana Bible. He doesn't find that funny, but he does make you a forecast, and it's stunning. Within 5 years, at current pace, Kayamal could rival United Fruit in Central American exports. You read it twice, then burn it, because if Gerald can calculate that, others can too. And you like your cards close, soft, banana-yellow. One evening, walking back from the dock, you see a familiar silhouette, a United Fruit representative, waiting by your car. He offers you coffee. You offer him a stare. He says, "We're impressed, Sam. Really, we didn't expect." You raise your hand. He stops, then tries again. "We'd like to, maybe reconsider our partnership." You say nothing, just get in your car, start the engine. But before you drive off, you roll down the window. "I don't do leftovers anymore." Then you leave, because you don't need their fruit, not their favors, not their freight. Something they didn't predict, an operation they can't replicate. Too human, too nimble, to yours. And as your train rolls back into Honduras that night, past sleeping towns, past waving children, past rows and rows of ripening trees, you lean, your head against the window, and smile, because they may have the fleet, but you have the field. Rain falls in thick, warm sheets, the kind of rain that soaks you before you have a chance to curse it. You're on the veranda of your office, watching your fields turn to rivers. The drainage system is holding for now. Inside, Gerald is panicking. The books don't like the weather. You're calm, because rain passes. Rot doesn't scare you anymore. What scares you is standing still, and lately you feel it. The edge of your momentum, the limit of just bananas. You've mastered routes, built villages, chilled your fruit, outpaced the white fleet, and yet there's something missing. So, you start thinking like a player, not just a planter. You return to New Orleans, wear a suit for once, and attend a meeting with potential investors. Most are polite. Some are confused. One asks, "Bananas, isn't that more hobby than empire?" You don't answer. You just open your ledger. Turn it to page 56. Show them the numbers, the margins, the exports, the growth curve so steep it looks like a cliff. Silence follows, then nods, then money. You walk out of the room with more than capital. You walk out with ammunition. You use it to expand rapidly. New farms, new ships, new connections in Guatemala, El Salvador, even Nicaragua, though the red tape there makes Honduras look like a lemonade stand. You hire legal advisors, local ones. They know the landscape better than any Harvard man. You start whispering into the ears of congressmen, make donations, fund roads, build telegraph poles where no one asked. You even install a radio tower for weather monitoring. You say, but you know the real use. Information moves faster now, and that makes you faster, but it also makes you visible. One night, Ashbel calls you, says, we're leveraged to the eyeballs. You sip your drink, stare at the map on your wall, banana icons marking every plantation, port and sail. You reply, then we climb higher. He hesitates. You don't. That's when the banks say no. Too risky, too leveraged, too tropical, so you go darker. You borrow from lenders who don't have desks, men who shake hands but never give real names, terms with interest that make your temples throb, but you take it, because this is the moment. You buy out Ashbel, clean, cold, all or nothing. You're now the undisputed leader of Cayamil United. Fruit still holds 10%, but you hold everything else, and you go to work. You make decisions without hesitation. You consolidate routes. You eliminate middlemen. You triple the irrigation budget because the drought will come sooner or later. And when it does, you'll be ready. Your staff doesn't sleep. You barely eat. Your ships run like clockwork until they don't. One shipment goes missing. Then another arrives late. The bananas are soft, unsalvageable. You check the logs, the tide schedules, the fuel manifests. Everything checks out except one thing: sabotage. You don't say it out loud, but the signs are there. United Fruit isn't subtle. They're starting to squeeze. They see your expansion, and they don't like it. But here's the thing. They trained you. They taught you the game when they handed you their rejects. And now you're playing better than they ever imagined. You start acquiring land aggressively. Any patch that touches theirs, you bid higher, faster. Sometimes you send men ahead just to talk to locals before they arrive. You know Sam, he pays. On time, builds homes, doesn't disappear after harvest, and it works. You're not just a banana man anymore. You're a land shark, and the sea is wide, but it costs. Your debt piles up. Your back aches from travel. Your hands haven't touched a banana stalk in months. You miss the leaves, the dirt, the simplicity. Now it's meetings, paper, negotiations. Once, a Honduran official asks you what kind of president you'd make. You laugh. He doesn't. You respond, I like power, not parades. But the thought lingers. You do like power, and you start to realize something. You're not fighting for banana supremacy anymore. You're fighting for influence, because whoever controls fruit controls jobs, controls food, controls votes. It's a quiet revelation, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Your plantations now cover more land than some cities. You have more workers than the national army. Your infrastructure budget rivals the government's. Yet, you still wake up in a hammock, still eat beans and rice, still carry your father's coin in your front. pocket, because you know where this started, and you know what it means to lose everything, that fear never leaves, but now you're closer than ever to something unshakable, not just wealth, legacy. The sun rises thick and slow over the Honduran valley, and you know before your boots hit the dirt, something has shifted. You feel it in the breeze, in the way the foreman looks at you sideways, like he's waiting for permission to speak. And he is, because the rumors are loud this time. The government, your government, the one you helped pave, bribe, and unofficially babysit, is unstable. Again, a new president sits in the capital. Elected, yes, but not exactly friendly. Not to you, and definitely not to your land contracts. You listen, you gather, you don't panic, because you know how this works. Power in this region isn't just held, it's passed around like a plate. At dinner, whoever feeds the most mouths gets the last bite. And right now, that's not you, but it could be. You make a few calls, quiet ones, 2 exiles, 2 military men who remember favors, 2 creditors who don't mind political investment has. Long as it comes with high returns, you don't say the word, but everyone knows what you mean. Coup. It's not something you plan casually. You weigh the costs, the risks, the image, but more than anything else, you weigh the alternative. If this government revokes your land rights, your tax privileges, your contracts, you lose everything. Bananas are not bulletproof. They're fragile. They bruise easily, so you begin to move. Your first step isn't soldiers, it's whispers. You fund newspapers, not lies. Not exactly, just emphasis. Is the current leadership prepared to support jobs? Will Honduras survive without its largest exporter? You let the people ask the questions. You just foot the bill. Then come the trucks. Mysteriously, well-funded militias appear overnight. Trained, organized, not yours. Officially, of course not. You're a businessman. Just a humble banana tycoon. Historians still argue about your exact role. You didn't sign the orders, didn't draft the manifestos, but the rifles, the uniforms, the fuel for the armored cars, all trace back to names suspiciously close to your checkbook. And when the capital falls, you're not surprised. The president flees. A new one steps in. He promises jobs, stability, banana-friendly policies, and your contracts, reinstated, expanded, etched in law with ink so permanent it might as well be carved into the bark of your oldest banana trees. You watch the news from your office, radio static in the background, a warm drink in hand, feet up. You don't smile, but you do exhale, because that was close, too close, and it changes you, not just because you flexed, but because you had to. This isn't about selling bananas anymore. It's about survival, position, protection. And you understand, if you want to stay at the top of this game, you have to keep writing the rules. You tighten your network. Begin attending government meetings, officially this time, advising, contributing. You're not a citizen, but no one dares challenge your seat at the table. You even fund an airstrip, because ships are slow, trains slower, but air has no traffic. Your first shipment of bananas by plane is mostly symbolic. A few crates, a test, but it works, and the press eats it up. Bananas take flight, reads one headline. You frame it, hang it near your desk. Visitors think it's a joke. It's not. It's a warning, the same way your school, clinic, bakery, water towers, and housing projects are warnings to your rivals. Look what I built. Look what I can build or take away, because by now your influence stretches beyond fruit. You meet with foreign investors, you speak with ambassadors, you even get a visit from someone in Washington. Polite, clean suit, sweaty handshake. He asks about your security forces, about stability, about long-term visions. You offer him lemonade. Tell him the region's ripe for growth, and it is, because you've made it so. But you don't let it swell your head, because while you hold power here, you know how fragile it is. One storm, one pest, one rumor, it could all vanish. So you remain obsessed with details. You still walk your fields, still time the ripening cycles, still insist on inspecting the first crates of every shipment. One afternoon, while doing just that, a worker pulls you aside. He hands you a bunch, says, "These are the first of the new hybrid." You hold them, heavier, more resistant to mold, less sweet, but hardier. You nod, progress, in every form, because you're not just exporting fruit anymore. You're exporting systems, farming, shipping, governance, all streamlined, optimized, packaged, like the very bananas you ship daily. The only difference, bananas spoil, and your power. Only if you let it. You sit at your desk, older now, not old, exactly, but the kind of older that feels like leather worn, smooth, creased in all the right places. Outside, the trees hum with life. The bananas never stop growing. Not for Sunday, not for storms, not even for presidents. You built that dot, the system, the rhythm, the empire. It began with rot, literally fruit, too ripe for shelves, too soft for shipping, the rejects of commerce, and now you own ports, rail lines, fields that stretch beyond the horizon. Name appears in trade journals and whispered conversations. Some call you a genius, others a parasite. You don't argue with either. History is made by people who see value where others see waste, and you saw gold in the brown spots of a banana. But this isn't a story of triumph. Not exactly, because victory has a price. You haven't seen your mother in years. You write her, yes, send money, but she lives in your past, like snow in a country you barely remember. And friends, most drifted away. They didn't sign up for banana diplomacy and high-stakes agricultural warfare. You have allies, you have admirers, but trust, that's harder now. Too many deals, too many knives behind backs that once clapped yours. Still, you endure, because the work continues. Kayamel isn't just a company anymore. It's a nation-state in motion. You fund scholarships, public gardens, even a newspaper. Now and then, when the editor plays nice, historians will write about your rise. Some already have. They call this era the Banana Republic phase, not the clothing store, the geopolitical one, where fruit and politics became indistinguishable. They'll argue about your role. Did you stabilize nations or exploit them? Were you a savior or a smuggler of influence? You'll never answer, because your truth isn't simple. It's layered, like a cargo ship packed tight, sweet, heavy, complicated. You visit one of your oldest plantations one day, unannounced. The workers are startled. Some still remember when you handed out fruit like prizes, when you built their school with your own hands. They ask if you'll speak to the children. You hesitate, then nod. You stand at the front of the tiny classroom, a chalkboard behind you, a boy asleep in the front row, and you begin not with numbers or politics. You tell them how you once saw a banana for the first time, how it confused you, how it changed your life. The children listen wide-eyed. You finish with a joke about sleeping in cargo wagons with scorpions. They laugh, and for a moment, so do you. Later, alone, you walk the rows again. The soil still dark, the leaves still thick, the breeze still smells of sap and promise. You touch a stalk, run your hand along its curve. It's perfect, like it's always been there, just waiting for someone to notice. And in that moment, you feel it, the journey, the weight, the gentle absurdity of it all. A Russian boy in America, chasing rotten bananas into the jungle, and out the other side as something else entirely. You watch the sunset drip gold across the valley. You sit in the grass, boots off, socks damp, and you breathe, because for all the chaos, all the clout, all the risk, you made something, not just profit, not just power, but place. And here, in this place of humid dusk and gentle rustling, you finally feel not finished, just full. And now, as your eyes grow heavy and the night settles deeper around you, you let the story drift away. Let the trains slow. Let the ships dock. Let the bananas ripen silently in the dark. There is no urgency now, no debts to count, no fields to patrol, just soft wind against soft leaves and the quiet rustle of memories passing like smoke. You did enough. You built enough. You saw things others missed. You turned them into something lasting. So rest now under this tropical sky. Let the stars hum overhead. Let the night insects sing their sleepy choruses. Feel the weight of the soil beneath you, warm and steady. The scent of ripened fruit and distant firewood. The faint laughter of children far off. You are here. You are safe. You are still. And even the bananas, bending under their own sweetness, seem to nod in approval. So close your eyes, float, sink, drift, and dream of jungles you tamed, of trains you raced, of empires built on the backs of fruit no one else wanted, because you saw what they didn't, and that makes all the difference. Good night. Banana Baron, sleep well.